Welcome back to Cheddar's Opening Bell. President-elect Joe Biden pledged to have a cabinet that, quote, looks like America. Several of Biden's picks so far have broken barriers, but outside of tapping retired Army General Lloyd Austin to be the first African American to lead the Defense Department, the top seats in Biden's cabinet, including his Secretary of State, Treasury Secretary, and Chief of Staff, remain mostly white. And here to discuss that and more, House Majority Whip, Congressman Jim Clyburn. Really great to have you on this morning. Appreciate it. Your endorsement of Joe Biden before the South Carolina primary just changed this entire race. He has now promised to build the most diverse cabinet in American history. As it stands, do you think that he's doing enough?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Well, we're on track to do that. I think that what we've seen at the cabinet level so far of the so-called Big Four, one is African American. Lloyd Austin has just been, well, he has not been formally nominated, but he's been announced as being the choice. Lloyd Austin has a tremendous reputation. It is going to be a tough confirmation because, as you know, he's only been out of the military now for almost 5 years. And you have to get a waiver because it requires 7 years under the law. But that's not unprecedented. Mattis was out less than 4 years, and a waiver was granted for him to be Secretary of Defense. So an African American as Secretary of Defense at the time when our military is about 40% minority, I think is exactly what we need to do. Then now Marcia Fudge has just been announced as for HUD. I think that is an outstanding pick. My longtime friend, Javier Becerra, has been announced for HHS. So the diversity is sitting there. And we're still waiting on what will happen with a few other cabinet picks. But if you look at the overall picks now, you will come to the conclusion that he's keeping his promise.
He still hasn't filled his attorney general position. There are reports that Alabama Senator Doug Jones or Judge Merrick Garland could be tapped for the role. But considering that this position will likely have to lead change when it comes to America's policing system in the wake of the summer's protests, do you think that this position should go to a person of color?
Look, there are people of color who are under consideration. Deval Patrick, the former governor of Massachusetts, has been mentioned. Tony West from California has been mentioned. He's been there before. I think he's the number 3 person there before. They have been mentioned. But look, that's not what's required. What's required is for someone who understands what it is to have a judicial system that works for everybody. Doug Jones, don't forget, it was Doug Jones who brought the prosecution of those Klansmen after so many years, decades. They walked around free after bombing that church and killing those 4 black girls. He prosecuted them and got them convicted. He has a tremendous reputation with the African American community. So you don't have to be black to do right by black people.
I also want to switch gears here. You're co-chair of the inaugural committee. How is this year going to be different from previous years? What does a virtual inauguration even look like?
Well, if you saw what we did with our convention, you will see exactly what it looks like. We had a great convention, and we had people all over the country participating at the local levels. That's what we're going to do here with this inauguration. We'll have part of it here on the steps just beneath this window behind me. The stage is being built. The president will be sworn in at noon on January 20th. But participation will be taking place all over the country. And so I just believe that the American people will love what we will have for them on the 20th. We won't have these super spreader events that they've grown used to for the last several months. No, we're going to do it the way the scientists say it should be done, and we will follow the advice of the medical experts, and we'll make sure that we do it in such a way that we keep people safe and healthy.
Will you be encouraging people, though, to show up on the National Mall? And what do you say to people who want to see Kamala Harris sworn in because she's just such this historic pick for vice president? What is your message to people who do want to see this in person?
I would say to them, be sure that you're around to help her celebrate her first year in office. And the best way to do that is to follow the advice of the experts. Yes, a lot of people may want to see it. If you want to see it, turn on your televisions, watch Cheddar, and see it. But don't come to Washington unless you can participate in an event that is being socially distanced and following the experts in how we carry it out. We are not going to have an event that will turn into a super spreader.
Quickly, do you think that, are your expectations that President Trump will attend the inauguration? And if he doesn't, what kind of message do you think that sends to the country?
Well, I don't think this president can send any worse messages to the country than he's already sent. He's out here every day losing suit after suit after suit. I don't know why it is that this president thinks that he's the only one got lawyers. All that we can hear from him going into this election. My lawyer's going to be here, and my lawyer's going to file this. So their lawyers are here, they are filing lawsuits, and they're losing all of them. He's not the only one who has lawyers. We got lawyers too. And so he is a tremendous insult to the intelligence of the American people. He's an insult to the institutions here of our governmental institutions. And that's why the Supreme Court slapped him down on yesterday, and we could care less whether or not he shows up for the inauguration. I don't expect him to be there. That's the right thing to do. He is not prone to do the right thing.
And I just really wanted to now also ask you about COVID relief. Speaker Pelosi seems willing to back a lower price tag relief bill. Were House Democrats wrong, though, not to negotiate before the election and help deliver relief sooner?
Well, let me ask you this, and I know you were asking the question, but this is a rhetorical question. Democrats believe in making sure that our institutions work and work well. The mayor of Columbia, South Carolina is African American. He talks to me all the time about the help they need, and Democrats have been trying to provide help for state and local governments. I've got 40 African American mayors of little towns in South Carolina. They need help. They don't want to lay off their little police forces and their people who work in their governments. They're going to have to lay these people off because they don't have the help we need to give them. That's what we've been fighting for. And I think that Speaker Pelosi and Leader Schumer will be doing a disservice to these people not to stand up for them and try to get the help that they need. We got Mitch McConnell. All he wants to do is take care of big corporations, trying to indemnify them in such a way that they will not have to be responsible if they do something that brings harm to people. That, to me, is worth fighting against. And state and local governments are worth fighting for. I applaud them for taking care of these mayors and these so-called blue state governors that these people seem to have such little respect for. You've got a president who's filing lawsuit against these communities because of the way they voted, trying to throw their votes out. This kind of autocracy is not what this country is all about. And that's why they're fighting for this aid, to make sure that all the money doesn't continue to go to the big corporations and not take care of Main Street. We just see what Mnuchin just turned all this money back. About 97% of the Main Street money never got spent. He's taking the money back now, putting it out of the reach of Joe Biden so that we can't help little businesses on Main Street. Why would you have a policy that says with those millions of dollars we got here, if you want to borrow any of it to keep your business going, you got to borrow at least $1 million. That's what they started out doing. They finally dropped it to $250,000 because Maxine Waters and Nydia Velasquez raised so much commotion about it. They dropped it to $250,000. But why should a small restaurant trying to stay open have to borrow $250,000 that they got to pay back if they don't need but $30,000? They won't loan them the money if all they need is $30,000. But if that's all I need to keep my business open, why can't I get the assistance? So that's the kind of stuff that they're doing, and nobody is shining the light on it. And that's what my select subcommittee has been trying to do, shine the light on the hypocrisy that these people are practicing. And then if you
all right, unfortunately, we do have to leave it there. Congressman, House Majority Whip, Congressman Jim Clyburn, representing South Carolina. So great to have you on this morning on Cheddar. Really appreciate all of your time. Thank you.